Hi guys, it's Jamie here, and we're going to put together our cover for the Midori journal that we're doing with the spring kit. Show you the size that I'm looking at. The front and back are 16 centimeters or 6¼ inches, and the height of that is 20 centimeters or 7¾ inches. The spine, it is 2 centimeters, just over 3/4 inch. To put it together, we are simply going to get some masking tape, put a small gap between the spine and front and back cover, and run our tape down it. Doesn't matter if that one moves because we can do it in a minute. Before I fully secure that, you can lift it up and check that gap hasn't moved, and it hasn't. So now we can fully put that one down. Add the second cover the same way as the first. Check everything folds nicely. We have 2 pieces of cream lightweight cardstock. So I think that's probably 120 to 160 GSM. I'm not sure, and I no longer have the packaging. I'm going to run some glue along one edge. And before that dries, I'm going to take my second piece and lay it on top. Line it up as best I can, but I will be cutting excess away, so that's not as important as it might seem. Bone folder that down. Place my journal cover over my 2 pieces of cardstock. I'm going to glue that to the cream. Bone folder it down and possibly even put a big book over it while it takes. I've trimmed some excess off this, and the next thing to do is to bring this cover round so that it can be fitted to the cardboard. Firstly, I'm going to take off the corners. As you can see on this, if you're doing this freehand, you still want a small gap between where you've cut across and the cover itself. I also want to put my score lines back in and take them off the cover itself and onto the card that's going to be the first layer. Using those score lines as a guide, I'm going to cut up towards those turn points and take a small triangle out of each side of that, and do the same on the other side. Gently bring the cardboard up and over. Make sure there's clearance, and that might need a bit more off there. Then when you're happy, use the bone folder to start to move that against the cover. And continue. Next, you're going to glue these edges down. Cut the inside panel so they're just shy of that cover, and you're going to try and glue them as close to that turn point without getting in the way of it as possible. And smooth everything on. The next stage of the cover is going to be these planks of wood, double-sided paper, that pack I've got, because in a different video I've made a door, demonstrate how to make this door using the spring papers, which I'm going to edit into this video so you will have both. I have cut this, as you can see, a little bit smaller than the cream. I'll be doing the front, the spine and the back. What I haven't done is this inner spine, because when this is being cut up, I'm actually going to punch the holes out first, then put it on so it becomes a template to punch through a couple of holes in this cover. I've punched a couple of holes, 1½ centimeters from the top, which is about 1 inch, 1½ centimeters from the bottom. Going to put this on. This will be our template for punching through. The next thing I've got is a couple of these grommets to put in. I've got the ones that have the split metal at the bottom. It's only just going to be wide enough. Hopefully this will work. I have some brown elastic cord, which I'm going to put through the 2 holes and tie on the inside. And we'll take off some of that excess. Maybe not quite as tight as I'd like it, but we'll see how it goes. Because your papers are going to sit under here, they cannot be higher than 15.5 centimetres or 6.25 inches. And you must remember that when you cut your papers, otherwise you'll find you're going to have to cut them down all the time. So that's how your cover looks so far. What you can also do is add the door. First thing that needs to be done is to cut it out, and the first decision you're going to want to make is where to cut. I'm actually going to cut out the whole thing because I'm going to use some of the side pieces as the hinging that we're going to need. Because we will be hinging a whole door, but only up to the point that it starts to curve, we need to look at this door and see where it starts to curve. And then we're going to cut roughly where it starts to curve. These pieces will make the hinge. As you can see, this isn't a straight line, so we're going to go slightly inside of that door to create a straight line, which will be the score point. And do the same on the other side. Then we can fold this back and bone folder it down. Something I always do on hinging is take the corners off the hinge so it sits better against whatever we're adding it to. Split this open. Now we have 2 halves of a door. This is only one way to do this, there are other ways. I have these pictures and I'm looking to see which ones might go behind the door and still give me the full picture that I'm looking for. What we're going to do is see where the door would close. Mark that up as a line that we're going to cut along, so just inside of those marks. Up to you. You can either cut a slither off so they meet perfectly, or you can leave a small gap as a hint behind. I'm going to leave a small gap so there's a hint that there's something behind there. Next thing is to glue on the hinges. And the main thing here is to line the bottom of the door up with the bottom of the scene that you're adding, or the photo you're adding behind that hinge, and also give it space to turn. Same on this side. I shall be trimming around. And now we have a door that will open to reveal a scene underneath. If you don't like the inside of the door, we simply cover it with something else. Get as close as possible. There we go. So remembering that's the piece that's going to be glued to your cover. That is now your opening and closing door. What you might want to do to finish it off, grab some distress ink of your choice. I have espresso here, an applicator. Turn your hinges the wrong way round. Go along all your edges inside and out. Once you've done that, you then have your door. Depending on what handle you want to choose, I might trim that up a bit better, but you get the idea. You have your door to add to any journal page or cover that you want. To add to the door, I've covered some wooden buttons with offcuts or scrap paper, and I've also added some tiny little dots to help raise them up a bit. And now I'm going to cut them out. Use an emery board to file away excess, clear it of dust, and then I'm going to use my espresso to stain it up. I'm going to place this on my door where I feel like I want to put a door handle. I'm going to place a weight on that until it does take. Hold this door closed. I've made a small loop from the same elastic that's gone to make the page holder, and then we're going to wrap that around those two buttons. That will be holding that door closed. I would like to lighten some of this brown on brown, therefore I'm going to take some of my white gesso and take this down a little by simply dry brushing a few bits in. I'm even taking a bit onto the inside, and then I'm going to take some napkin, a brush that's damp, tearing out bits of napkin. I'm going to take all the ply off. I could use the clear gesso. I can trim this in a minute. We're going to add our roses coming down over the door. Doing this very gently because these are very easy to tear. When that's dry, we'll trim off the excess. I ended up adding a lot of the napkin to this. It's not fully dry yet. Clear gesso has been put over the top. The white lightened the background somewhat. And then when you open the doors, some of the napkin goes over that opening as well. That is the front cover done.